Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the mid-year book freakout tag. We are already halfway through 2018, which is insane. I did this book tag last year and I really enjoyed doing it, so I thought I would go ahead and do it again this year because obviously my answers are going to be different. This year I tried to challenge myself though to only pick books that I have newly read. So these answers, there won't be any repeat or reread books. And also I wanted to challenge myself to only pick one book per answer, like no repeat books. So for a lot of these questions, I could have picked multiple books, but I tried to just, pick one book for one answer, no rereads and no repeat answers. So let's just jump right in. So question number one is best book of 2018. For this, I have to give it to Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the third and final book in the Illuminae files. This book was fantastic. I really couldn't find any negatives to this book. It was so good. I do have a book review on it, so I'll leave it linked down below. I also have one for Illuminae and Gemina, but this book was just phenomenal and it was one of the best finales that I have read. It's just, the story is so unique and it's just written in such an interesting style. I love this series so much. I'm so sad that we are done with the series, but yes, Obsidio was the best book that I have read so far in 2018. Question number two is the best sequel that you've read in 2018. So obviously I could have given this to Obsidio as well, but I wanted to pick a different book. So for this question, I went with Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. This is the third book in the Diviners series. I don't own a physical copy of Before the Devil Breaks You because I did listen to it on audiobook, which was fantastic. So far, the best one in the series, and I really enjoyed it. I don't want to go into too much details because it is the third book in a series, but basically, like, our characters are finally coming together. The story is really starting to weave together, and it's just, the ending of it was so good, so shocking and surprising, and the twists, it's just, it was so good, and I am so excited for the next book in the series. Question number three is a new release you haven't read but you really want to. So for this question, I'm going with Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. I have already started it, but I haven't read all of it. I'm like 70 pages in, barely started. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this book for this answer. This is very popular. So many people are raving about Leah and they're loving this book, and I'm just dragging my feet to read it. I don't know why. I read Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda in like one sitting, so I feel like I could probably get through Leah really quickly, but I'm just dragging my feet. But yes, this is definitely a new release that I was highly anticipating this year, that I haven't read yet, that I really want to. Question number four is your most anticipated release for the second half of 2018. And for this, I have to give it to the seventh and final book in the Throne of Glass series, which is Kingdom of Ashes by Sarah J. Maas. I am anticipating this book so much. I love Throne of Glass. It is probably one of my favorite series. It is right there with Harry Potter. I absolutely love the series so much. I've been anticipating for this book for a year now, and it is almost here, so I'm really excited. Question number five was your biggest disappointing read. For this, I have to go with Scythe by Neil Shusterman. So many people love this book, like rave about this book, and it has a lot of good reviews on Goodreads. I think it's over like a 4 stars with thousands of ratings, but I didn't really enjoy it. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because I just wasn't in the mood to read this type of particular setting. The plot was interesting, like the idea, the concept of it is really intriguing. Basically, we have conquered death, and the only way to keep population under control is through scythes, and they go and they glean or kill people to keep population under control. Reading it, I didn't connect with the characters, I didn't connect with the plot, I just really was, like, there were the plot twists that people were really raving and anticipating. I was just like, okay. I guess that's a twist. Like, it just didn't shock and wow me like it did to so many people. I went into this book with such high expectations, and I think maybe that's why it was even more of a disappointment, because my expectation for this book was way up there. So I think I ended up, on Goodreads, I gave it a 3 because I didn't feel like it necessarily deserved a 2, but I ended up rating it a 2.5. Question number 6 is your biggest surprising read. And for this, I went with Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I had been hearing so much about this book, and going into this book, I knew it was sort of like a virtual reality, like video game virtual reality plot. But for some reason that didn't really interest me. You know, I love video games, but I was just like, nah, I don't know. But then the trailer to the movie came out and it looked so good, so I decided to pick up this book, and I really, really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. It is so creative, and surprisingly, the virtual, like the video game virtual reality of it is what I loved the most about it. The characters are really interesting, and I loved the main character, Wade. I read it and listened to the audiobook of it, and the audiobook was fantastic. I highly recommend it. It is narrated by Will Wheaton, so it is really, really good. But yeah, this was a pleasant surprise, and I am so glad that I ended up picking it up. Question number 7 is your favorite new author. So for this answer, this is where I'm cheating a little bit. I am going with Becky Albertalli, who wrote Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda and Leah on the Offbeat. I absolutely loved Simon. This was one of my favorite books that I read this year. I had never read a Becky Albertalli book before Simon, so Becky Albertalli is now one of my favorite authors. I'm really excited to read more of what she's written. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here as well, because I said I wasn't going to do any rereads. But this is technically not a reread, even though this character shows up in a reread. Anyways, I'm going with Adrian Ishkovov from the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead, but more specifically, Adrian in the Bloodline series. I've recently started the first book in the Bloodline series, which is like the spin-off series to Vampire Academy, and I love Adrian so much. He's one of my favorite characters, so I can't wait to read more about him. He's definitely one of my newest fictional crushes, especially since I kind of had forgotten about Adrian until I reread Vampire Academy, because I read Vampire Academy over 10 years ago, so I think when like the first book had just come out. So yeah, I completely forgot about Adrian Ishkovov and how much I love and adore him. Next question is your newest favorite character. And for this, I have to go with Mia Corvair and Mr. Kindly from Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Now, I really enjoyed this book, even though it kind of took me a little while to get through it. It is adult fiction, adult fantasy, and the writing style is really unique and different, but the story and the plot just really stuck with me. Like, it's just such an interesting plot, and it's so unique and different, and I've never read anything about this. But basically, Mia is training to be an assassin, and she has a shadow cat that stays with her at all times named Mr. Kindly. And I thought that pair is just so great. I really enjoyed Mia's character. She is one of those morally gray characters. She's an assassin, but she is trying to get rid of the bad guys. And then Mr. Kindly is just, I love his snippets and all of his like quirky comebacks and him and Mia's dialogue together. It's so great. I haven't continued on with the series yet, but God's Grave is on my TBR, and I am just wanting to get more of Mia and Mr. Kindly. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry, and I didn't read any books this year that have made me cry, so we're just gonna go ahead and skip that question. Question 11 is a book that made you happy. For this, I have to go with A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I really enjoyed this book. Like, it's not one of my favorite of the series, and I feel like this book was technically not necessary to further along the plot line, but we are back in the world of Sarah J. Maas from, you know, A Court of Thorns and Roses, and we are back with all of my favorite characters. So I really enjoyed just reading this book and just reading all of my favorite characters again, and just being in their heads and just following their day-to-day activity, which is kind of pretty much what this story is about. We're just following the characters after they're recovering from the end of ACOFAS. So yeah, it's not really plot driven. It's very, very heavy on just characters, but it did make me very happy to read it and just be back in the world and be back with my favorite characters. Question 12 is your favorite book to movie adaptation. And for this, I have to go with Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. This book to movie adaptation was fantastic. I absolutely loved the movie so much. I saw it in theaters. I bought it the second it came out, and I have already watched it probably like 3 or 4 times. I love the book and the movie so much that I had to buy it, but it is probably it's definitely the best book to movie adaptation I've watched this year. And Ready Player One was also a very good second, but I had already used Ready Player One, so I didn't want to use it for this answer. But it is probably one of the best book to movie adaptations that I have like ever seen. So yeah, I really loved the movie. So if you enjoyed this book, I highly recommend checking out the movie. It's wonderful. Question 13 is your favorite like book review that you've written or your favorite video that you filmed. And I have to go with my collab videos that I filmed with Trisha from Tell Her a Story and Hannah from The Rainy Reader. I will leave those linked down below. We did 2 on my channel and then 2 on Hannah's and 2 on Trisha's. And I also did like a vlog of my time in like meeting Hannah and stuff, and yeah, those are definitely my favorite videos that I have filmed this year. They were so much fun. It's amazing to be able to meet like one of my best friends here on YouTube and in real life. I really enjoyed filming those videos. Question 14 is the most beautiful book you've bought or received. And I have to go with Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston, and this is the Owl Crate edition. Just look at that. It's beautiful. Like, I love the cover. Purple is my favorite color. So look at the pages. It's just, it's so pretty. Like, this is an amazing exclusive edition, and I love this book. I haven't read it yet, but it is just stunning. I love it. It's so pretty. And the last question, question 15, is books that you need to read by the end of 2018. I have so many on my list, but I'm not going to do like most anticipated releases. I'm going to just stick with like a series that I want to finish, and that has been my goal for quite some time now. And that series is the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare. I am almost caught up in the whole like Shadowhunter world books. These are the last 2 that I need to read before I am finally caught up for the release of the 3rd book in this series. So I need to read Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows before December. So these are the 2 books that are like on my highest TBR. This has been a goal of mine for like over a year now, and I am almost there, so I'm really excited. All right guys, well that is it for my mid-year book freakout tag for 2018. If you have not done this tag, or even if you did it last year, I highly recommend doing it again because your answers obviously are going to change. Comment down below. I would love to know the best book that you've read in 2018 and your biggest disappointment that you've read in 2018. And I will see you next time in another video. Bye!